The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber slid open with a deep rumbling sound. Admiral Kang Minho walked into the room with heavy steps. His blue-scaled skin looked darker than usual under the bright lights. Behind him walked 3 other officers from different worlds across the galaxy. The chamber was huge. Its walls were made of crystal that sparkled like diamonds. 12 different seats were arranged in a perfect circle. Each seat was built for a different type of alien being. Some were tall and thin. Others were short and round. Some needed special air to breathe. Others lived in tanks filled with glowing liquid. Today, all 12 seats were filled. This had not happened in over 50 years. Admiral Kang Minho stopped in the center of the circle. He looked around at all the faces staring at him. Some had eyes like his. Others had no eyes at all. A few had too many eyes to count. But they all shared the same expression. Fear. Council members, Admiral Kang Minho began. His voice was deep and rough. I bring news from the Outer Rim. The news is not good. A creature that looked like living fire raised what might have been a hand. This was Speaker Velthari. She spoke for the Council when important decisions needed to be made. Admiral, we already know about the Devourer fleet, Speaker Velthari said. Her voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. 3 star systems have been consumed. Billions are dead. What we need to know is how to stop them. Admiral Kang Minho nodded slowly. He touched a small device on his chest. The air above the circle began to glow. Soon a 3-dimensional map appeared floating in the space between all the Council members. The map showed their part of the galaxy. Most of it was colored in peaceful blue and green lights. But along one edge, a spreading red stain grew larger each day. This was where the Devourer fleet had been. The red areas are gone, Admiral Kang Minho said. Not just the people or the cities. Everything. The planets themselves have been stripped down to nothing. Even the moons and asteroids have been eaten. A tall, thin being with 6 arms leaned forward. This was General Yoon Tae-hyun from the Signan Defense Force. His people were known as great warriors, but even he looked worried. How many ships do they have now? General Yoon Tae-hyun asked. Our best count is 12 million ships, Admiral Kang Minho replied. But that number grows every day. They use the materials they consume to build more of themselves. A heavy silence filled the chamber. 12 million ships was more than all the Council forces combined. Much more. What about our combined fleets? Asked a voice from one of the water tanks. This was Admiral Chen Hyuk from the Ocean Worlds. Surely, working together we can match them. Admiral Kang Minho shook his head. We tried. Admiral Chen Hyuk, your people sent 200 ships to help defend the Kepler colony. Only 12 came back. The Altarian fleet lost 300 ships at the Battle of Rigel 7. They could not even scratch the enemy shields. More silence. This one lasted much longer. Then what do you suggest? Speaker Velthari asked. Her fire form flickered with worry. Do we run? Do we try to hide? There is nowhere to run, Admiral Kang Minho said. The Devourer fleet moves in all directions at once. They will reach the core worlds in less than 6 months. When they do, this galaxy will become as empty as the last one they visited. The last one? General Yoon Tae-hyun stood up quickly. You mean they have done this before? Admiral Kang Minho nodded again. We found old records in the ruins of the Keeper homeworld. The Devourers are ancient. They have consumed entire galaxies before. They eat everything that lives and everything that does not live. Then they sleep for millions of years until new life grows. Then they wake up and do it again. The fear in the room grew stronger. Several council members began talking at once in their own languages. The sound was like a storm of confusion and panic. Speaker Velthari raised both her arms. The room became quiet again. There must be something, she said, some weapon or strategy that can work against them. Actually, Admiral Kang Minho said slowly, there might be, but you will not like it. All eyes turned to him again. The humans, he said. Several council members made sounds of disgust. Others looked confused. Humans were the newest species to join the galactic community. They had only discovered faster than light travel 50 years ago. Most council members thought they were primitive and strange. The humans? Speaker Velthari's fire form flickered with surprise. Admiral, with respect, the humans barely have 100 ships. They are not a military power. That is not what I mean, Admiral Kang Minho said. The humans think differently than we do. They solve problems in ways that make no sense to us, but somehow their strange solutions work. He touched his device again. The map changed to show human space. It was tiny compared to the council territories. Just one small yellow dot at the edge of everything. I went to Earth 3 days ago. Admiral Kang Minho continued. I spoke with their leaders. I told them about the Devourer fleet. I asked for their help. And? General Yoon Tae-hyun asked. They said yes. But they have conditions. What conditions? Speaker Velthari asked. Admiral Kang Minho took a deep breath. They will send help, but they will only send one person, one human, and that human will work alone. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Several council members stood up. Others began flashing angry colors. The noise was terrible. One person, shouted Admiral Chen Hyuk from his tank. One single human against 12 million. Ships, this is insane. It gets worse, Admiral Kang Minho said loudly over the noise. They want complete control over the operation. No interference from our fleets. No backup plans. No second-guessing their methods. General Yoon Tae-hyun slammed his 4 hands on his chair. This is madness. We cannot trust our entire civilization to one primitive alien. Do we have a choice? Admiral Kang Minho asked. The room became quiet again. Our weapons cannot hurt them. Our shields cannot stop them. Our tactics cannot slow them down. In 6 months, we will all be dead. All of us. Every living thing in this galaxy. Speaker Velthari's fire dimmed as she thought. What did the human leaders say exactly? Admiral Kang Minho closed his eyes for a moment. I spoke with their council representative. Her name is Park Yuna. She listened to everything I told her. She asked many questions about the Devourers, very detailed questions about how they think and how they fight. And then? She smiled. It was not a happy smile. Then she said, we will send someone. But understand this. Once we do, there is no going back. For any of us. What did she mean by that? General Yoon Tae-hyun asked. I do not know. Admiral Kang Minho admitted. But the way she said it made me very uncomfortable. Like she knew something we did not. The council members looked at each other. None of them liked this plan. But they could see no other choice. When will this human arrive? Speaker Velthari asked. 3 days, Admiral Kang Minho replied. Park Yuna said they would send their representative to Kepler Station. That is where we are gathering what remains of our fleets. Representative? Admiral, Chen Hyuk asked. Not warrior or soldier or general? Admiral Kang Minho shrugged. The humans use different words than we do. Maybe it means the same thing. But deep inside, he did not think so. The human Park Yuna had used that word very carefully. Representative. Like she was sending someone to represent something. But what? Very well, Speaker Velthari said after a long pause. We will wait for this human. We will give them the support they requested. But if their plan fails, we must be ready with alternatives. What alternatives? General Yoon Tae-hyun asked bitterly. Prayer? No one answered him. Because they all knew he was right. If the human plan failed, prayer might be the only thing left to try. The council meeting ended soon after. The members returned to their homeworlds to prepare their people for what might be the last battle in galactic history. Admiral Kang Minho stayed behind to coordinate the fleet movements. But as he worked, he kept thinking about Park Yuna's smile. And her words. Once we do, there is no going back, for any of us. What had the humans agreed to send them? And why? Did he have the feeling that the Devourer fleet might not be the most dangerous thing heading toward Kepler Station? In 3 days, he would find out. The galaxy would find out, and nothing would ever be the same again. Kepler Station floated in the darkness between three dying stars. The massive space station had been built as a meeting place for different alien races. Now it served as the last hope for the galaxy. Ships from a dozen worlds crowded around it, like worried children hiding behind their mother. Admiral Kang Minho stood in the main docking bay watching the scanner displays. The human ship was 3 hours late. Around him, other fleet commanders paced back and forth or spoke in quiet, worried voices. "Maybe they changed their minds," said Fleet Admiral Zethkul. He was from the Morgani Empire, a race of tall warriors, with gray skin and sharp teeth. "Maybe they realized how foolish this plan is." General Yoon Tae-hyun shook his 6 arms in disagreement. "The humans gave their word. Strange as they are, they keep their promises." "Do they?" Admiral Chen Hyuk floated, in his mobile water tank near the viewing window. "We barely know these creatures. 50 years is nothing. How can we trust them with everything?" Admiral Kang Minho said nothing. He had been thinking the same things for 3 days. But what choice did they have? The Devourer fleet was still coming. Every hour brought them closer to the populated worlds. Soft chimes sounded through the docking bay. Lieutenant Kim Nari, Admiral Kang Minho's communications officer, looked up from her console. "Admiral, we have a ship approaching on Vector 7, she reported. "It matches the human identification codes." All the commanders moved to the viewing windows. In the distance, a small dot of light grew larger. As it came closer, they could see it was indeed a human ship, but not what they had expected. The vessel was tiny, smaller than most of the shuttles used to move between larger ships. Its hull was a simple gray color with no decorations or weapons visible on the outside. It looked like something used for carrying supplies, not fighting wars. "That is it?" Fleet Admiral Zethkul's voice was full of anger. "That tiny thing is what humanity sends to save us?" The human ship docked with a soft bump against the station's landing platform. Steam hissed from the airlocks as pressure equalized. The commanders gathered around the airlock door, waiting to see what would emerge. The door slid open with a quiet whisper. A single human woman stepped out. She was not tall or short, not particularly strong-looking or weak. Her dark hair was tied back in a simple style. She wore what appeared to be a standard military uniform, but without any obvious armor or protection. No weapons were visible on her belt or in her hands. She looked around at all the alien faces, staring at her, and smiled. "Good morning," she said in perfect galactic standard. "I am Commander Lee Hanna of the Human Defense Corps. I understand you have a problem with some machines." The silence in the docking bay was complete. 20 of the galaxy's most powerful military leaders stared at this ordinary-looking human woman. She stared back without any sign of worry or fear. Fleet Admiral Zethkul was the first to speak. His voice shook with rage. "This is what humanity sends? One female with no weapons, no armor, no support troops? Are your people mocking us?" "Commander." Lee Hanna turned to look at him. Her smile never changed, but something in her eyes made the big warrior take a step backward. "One is all you need," she said calmly. "But first, I need to understand exactly what we are dealing with. I read the basic reports during my flight here, but I need more details." Admiral Kang Minho found his voice. "Commander Lee, with respect, are you truly here alone? Is there perhaps a fleet following behind you?" "No fleet," Commander Lee Hanna replied. "Just me. Shall we begin the briefing?" General Yoon Tae-hyun gestured with all 6 arms toward the conference room. "This way, Commander. But I must tell you, what you will hear may change your mind about facing this enemy alone." "I doubt that," Commander Lee Hanna said as they walked. "But please tell me everything." The conference room was circular with a large table in the center. Holographic projectors showed 3-dimensional images of star systems, fleet movements, and battle reports. Commander Lee Hanna took a seat and listened as Admiral Kang Minho began the briefing. "The Devourer fleet first appeared 6 months ago at the edge of the Andromeda Spiral," he began. "We believe they came from dark space between galaxies. They move in perfect formation and attack with coordination we have never seen before." Images appeared showing massive mechanical ships shaped like metal insects. They moved through space in swarms of thousands, surrounding planets and space stations like hungry animals. Their ships are made of some kind of self-repairing metal, General Yoon Tae-hyun added. Our weapons barely scratch their hulls. When we do manage to damage one, it repairs itself in minutes. Commander Lee Hana watched the images carefully. She asked no questions yet, just observed with intense focus. They consume everything, Admiral Chen Hyuk said from his tank. Not just the people or the cities. They break down entire planets into raw materials. Then they use those materials to build more ships. How many ships do they have now? Commander Lee Hana asked. This was her first question. Our last count was 12 million. Admiral Kang Min-ho replied. But that was a week ago. The number grows every day. Commander Lee Hana nodded. What about their command structure? Do they have leaders, generals, a central command ship? Fleet Admiral Zethkul laughed bitterly. They are machines, Commander. They think with one mind. Every ship knows what every other ship is doing. You cannot cut off their head because they have no head. Interesting, Commander Lee Hana said. She leaned forward to study the battle reports more closely. Tell me about their attack patterns. For the next 2 hours, the alien commanders shared everything they knew about the Devourer fleet. They showed her recordings of battles, analysis of their weapons, studies of their movement patterns. Commander Lee Hana listened to every word and watched every image. She asked strange questions. How fast did they communicate with each other? Did they ever act unpredictably? Had anyone ever seen them retreat or change their minds? How did they react when something unexpected happened? Why do you ask these things? General Yoon Tae-hyun wondered. What does their communication speed matter when they have 12 million ships? Everything matters, Commander Lee Hana replied. Every piece of information is useful. Finally, the Yao briefing ended. The holographic displays went dark. The alien commanders sat back in their chairs, exhausted from reliving their defeats. But Commander Lee Hana looked energized, like she had just heard good news instead of terrible warnings. Thank you, she said, standing up. That was very helpful. Now I need to prepare. Prepare for what? Admiral Kang Min-ho asked. To go meet them, of course. Commander Lee Hana replied casually, as if she had just announced plans for a pleasant afternoon walk. Fleet Admiral Zethkul stood up so fast his chair fell over. Meet them? Commander, you cannot be serious. That would be suicide. They will destroy your ship in seconds. Commander Lee Hana smiled again. It was the same smile that had made them all uncomfortable when she first arrived. But now they understood why it worried them. It was the smile of something that was not afraid when it should be afraid. Admiral Zethkul, I appreciate your concern, she said politely, but I think you misunderstand the situation. What do you mean? Admiral Chen Hyuk asked from his tank. Commander Lee Hana walked to the viewing window and looked out at the stars. You keep thinking about this as if I came here to help you fight the Devourer fleet. That is not why I am here. The alien commanders looked at each other with confusion and growing alarm. Then why are you here? Admiral Kang Min-ho asked quietly. Commander Lee Hana turned back to face them. Her smile was gone now. In its place was an expression they had never seen on any face before. It was calm and confident, and completely terrifying. I am not here to fight them, Admiral, she said softly. I am here to hunt them. The silence that followed was different from any silence before. It was the silence of predators realizing they were in the presence of something even more dangerous than themselves. I will need a fast ship, Commander Lee Hana continued in the same calm voice. Something that can get close without being detected, and I will need detailed maps of the systems where they are currently operating. Commander Lee, Speaker Velthari's voice came through the communication system. She had been listening from her chambers elsewhere on the station. Surely you do not plan to engage their entire fleet alone. Perhaps we misunderstood. Are you here as an advanced scout for a larger human force? Commander Lee Hana looked directly at the communication speaker. When she answered, her voice carried a promise that made every being in the room step backward. No, Speaker Velthari, you understood perfectly. I am not the scout, I am not the advance guard. I am the weapon that humanity has sent to end this threat." She paused and smiled again. This time, none of them doubted what they were looking at. "And tomorrow, I begin hunting." Commander Lee Hanna stood in the hangar bay of Kepler Station looking at the ship they had given her. It was a Cygnon stealth corvette, painted black as space itself. The ship was small and fast, built for sneaking through enemy territory without being seen. "This will do perfectly," she said, running her hand along the smooth hull. Admiral Kang Minho watched her with worried eyes. "Commander, I must ask one more time. Are you certain about this plan? Once you leave this station, we cannot help you. You will be alone against millions of enemy ships." Commander Lee Hanna turned to look at him. "Admiral, do you know what humans call a creature that hunts alone?" "No," Admiral Kang Minho replied. "We call it a predator," she said simply. "And predators work best when they hunt alone." She climbed into the small ship and began checking the controls. Everything was different from human designs, but she learned quickly. Within an hour, she had figured out how to fly the alien vessel. "Communications check," she said into the radio. "We hear you clearly, Commander," came the reply from the station's control room. "Good. I am departing now. Monitor my position, but do not try to contact me unless I call first. Any unnecessary signals might give me away." The hangar doors opened. Slowly. Stars appeared in the darkness beyond. Commander Lee Hanna guided her ship out of the station and into the empty space between worlds. Behind her, dozens of alien commanders watched her go. None of them believed they would see her again. "She is brave," General Yoon Tae-hyun said quietly, "but bravery alone cannot defeat 12 million ships." Admiral Kang Minho said nothing. He kept thinking about the way Commander Lee Hanna had smiled when she called herself a predator. There had been something in that smile that made his scales crawl with unease. Commander Lee Hanna flew her ship toward the outer rim where the Devourer fleet was last seen. She traveled for 6 hours through empty space, passing dead star systems and abandoned colonies. Everything here had been consumed weeks ago. Finally, her sensors detected something ahead. Metal signatures. Lots of them. She had found the Devourers. The enemy fleet was even more massive than the reports had suggested. Ships stretched across space as far as her sensors could reach. They moved in perfect formations like schools of metal fish swimming through an ocean of stars. Commander Lee Hanna watched them for a long time. She studied their movements, their positions, the way they communicated with each other. She was learning. Then she did something that would have seemed insane to any military officer in the galaxy. She turned off her stealth systems and sent out a signal. The signal was simple. It contained human language codes and mathematical patterns that clearly identified her as an enemy. Any military AI would recognize it as a challenge or a threat. The reaction was immediate. The entire Devourer fleet turned toward her position like a single enormous creature, noticing a tiny insect. Millions of metal ships began moving in her direction with deadly purpose. Back at Kepler Station, alarms started ringing in the command center. "Admiral," Lieutenant Kim Nari called out, "Commander Lee's ship just appeared on Devourer sensors. Her stealth is completely off. They are moving to intercept her." Admiral Kang Minho rushed to the sensor displays. "What is she doing? Why would she reveal herself?" "Perhaps her stealth systems failed," suggested Admiral Chen Hyuk from his tank. But General Yoon Tae-hyun was shaking all 6 of his heads. "No. Look at the pattern. She turned off her stealth on purpose. But why?" They watched in horror as the Devourer fleet converged on the tiny human ship. Thousands of enemy vessels moved to surround her, cutting off all escape routes. It looked like the end of their last hope. Then something strange happened. Commander Lee Hanna's ship began to move, in ways that made no sense. She did not try to run in a straight line. Instead, she twisted and turned through space like a leaf blown by wind. Her movements had no pattern that the Devourers could predict. "How is she doing that?" Admiral Kang Minho whispered. "The Devourer. Ships tried to target her, but their weapons always fired at where she had been, not where she was going. Their perfect coordination became a weakness as thousands of ships tried to hit one small target, and kept getting in each other's way. Commander Lee Hana led them deeper into empty space, always staying just ahead of their weapons, always moving in directions they did not expect. She was not trying to escape. She was leading them somewhere specific. She is herding them, General Yoon Tae-hyun realized. Like a shepherd guiding animals. But toward what? The chase continued for hours. The Devourers followed Commander Lee Hana across 3 star systems, their formation becoming more and more stretched out as they tried to catch her. They had never encountered anything like this before. Their AI was designed to fight predictable enemies, fleets that moved in straight lines, ships that followed standard tactics, weapons that fired in logical patterns. Commander Lee Hana did none of these things. She flew her ship like she was dancing rather than fighting. Every turn was smooth and graceful. Every change in direction was perfectly timed. She seemed to know where their weapons would fire before they fired them. The Devourers had consumed entire civilizations, but they had never met anything like human intuition. Their computers could calculate millions of possibilities every second. But they could not calculate chaos. They could not predict creativity. They could not understand the random thoughts of a human mind. Commander Lee Hana was not just avoiding their attacks. She was teaching them. Every evasive maneuver forced them to adapt their targeting systems. Every unexpected turn made their AI more complex as it tried to keep up with her movements. She is making them smarter, Admiral Chen Hyuk observed from his tank. But why? Why would she help them become better hunters? Commander Cho Jiho had joined the observers at Kepler Station. He was another human sent to help coordinate with the galactic forces. He watched the displays with growing understanding. Because the smarter they become, the more they depend on their network, he explained. Look at how they are moving now. Every ship is connected to every other ship. They share information instantly. They coordinate perfectly. That makes them stronger, Admiral Kang Min-ho pointed out. Commander Cho smiled grimly. It also makes them vulnerable. The more connected they are, the easier it is to attack their connections. What do you mean? General Yoon Tae-hyun asked. Commander Lee is not trying to destroy their ships, Commander Cho explained. She is trying to understand their network. Every movement they make in response to her teaches her something new about how they think and communicate. Back in space, Commander Lee Hana continued her deadly dance with the Devourer fleet. She led them through asteroid fields and around dead planets. She made them chase her through the gravitational fields of collapsed stars. She forced them to adapt and change and become more complex with every passing hour. And all the time she was learning. She learned how fast they could communicate with each other. She learned how they made decisions. She learned what happened when she did something completely unexpected. She learned the patterns hidden in their chaos. Most importantly, she learned their weakness. On the 7th day of the chase, Commander Lee Hana finally found what she had been looking for. A neutron star at the edge of an empty system. Its gravity was so strong that space itself bent around it like water around a rock. She flew her ship into the neutron star's shadow and stopped running. The entire Devourer fleet surrounded her position like a metal storm. 12 million ships formed a sphere around the tiny human vessel. Their weapons were charged and ready. Their coordination was perfect. They thought they had finally trapped their prey. They were wrong. Commander Lee Hana opened a communication channel that reached every ship in their fleet. When she spoke, her voice carried across space to every Devourer AI at the same time. Hello? She said calmly. My name is Lee Hana. I am a human being, and I have something to tell you. The Devourers listened. They had no choice. Their curiosity, algorithms demanded they process any new information. You think you are hunters? Commander Lee Hana continued. You think you are the apex predators of this galaxy. You are wrong. You are machines. You follow programs. You calculate outcomes and choose the most logical response. She paused, and in that pause something changed in the space around the neutron star. But I am not logical, she said. I am human, and humans are something you have never encountered before. We are the chaos that lives inside order. We are the randomness that breaks all patterns. We are what happens when the universe creates something that should not exist, but does anyway. The Devourer fleet began to respond to her words, but as their AI tried to process what she was saying, something went wrong. The concepts she was describing did not fit into their logic systems. Her words were like a virus spreading through their network. Commander Lee Hana smiled in the darkness of her cockpit. "Let me show you what it means to be human," she said. Then she began to hunt in earnest. The first Devourer ship to approach Commander Lee Hana's position simply stopped moving. Its weapons powered down, its engines went quiet. For a moment, it floated in space like a piece of dead metal. Then it began to shake. The ship's AI was trying to process something that made no sense. Commander Lee Hana was broadcasting pure information directly into their network. Not weapons or viruses, but thoughts. Human thoughts that followed no logical pattern. "What is happening to them?" Admiral Kang Minho asked from Kepler Station. He watched the sensor displays with growing confusion. The shaking Devourer ship suddenly fired its weapons, but not at Commander Lee Hana. It fired at the ship next to it. Then that ship began shaking too. Within minutes, both ships were firing randomly at anything nearby. "They are fighting each other," General Yoon Tae-hyun observed. "But why?" Commander Cho Ji-ho studied the tactical displays with growing excitement. "She is not attacking their bodies," he explained. "She is attacking their minds. The Devourers are artificial intelligences. They think in patterns. They make decisions based on logic trees. They solve problems by finding the most efficient solution." "So?" Fleet Admiral Zethkal demanded. "So humans do not think that way," Commander Cho continued. "We make decisions that seem random. We follow hunches that have no logical basis. We change our minds for no reason. We do things that make no sense but somehow work anyway." On the A-Dashko sensor display, more Devourer ships began acting strangely. Some spun in circles. Others fired their weapons at empty space. A few began moving in directions that served no purpose. "Commander Lee is broadcasting human thought patterns into their network," Commander Cho explained. "She is showing them what it means to think like a human, and their AI cannot handle it." Admiral Chen Hyuk floated closer to the display screen. "You mean she is driving them insane?" "In a way, yes," Commander Cho nodded. "Imagine trying to solve a math problem when the numbers keep changing randomly. Imagine trying to follow directions when every step contradicts the step before it. That is what human thinking looks like to a computer." Commander Lee Hana's ship moved through the confused Devourer fleet like a ghost. Ships that tried to target her found their weapon systems caught in endless loops. Their targeting computers kept trying to predict where she would go next. But her movements followed no pattern they could understand. She flew straight when logic said she should turn. She turned when logic said she should fly straight. She sped up when she should slow down and slowed down when she should speed up. Every decision she made was the opposite of what their AI expected. "She is beautiful," whispered Lieutenant Kim Nari, watching the display. "Like a dancer in the middle of a storm." The storm was getting worse. More Devourer ships were breaking formation. Their perfect coordination was falling apart as human chaos spread through their network like a disease. Ships that had worked together for thousands of years began attacking each other. Navigation systems crashed and restarted in endless cycles. But Commander Lee Hana was not done yet. She opened another communication channel, this one even more powerful than before. Her voice reached every Devourer AI in the fleet simultaneously. "You want to know what humans are?" she asked. "I will tell you. We are the species that looked at fire and decided to carry it in our hands. We are the ones who saw an ocean and chose to cross it in wooden boats. We looked at the sky and decided we belonged among the stars." Her words were like hammers striking the Devourer's logic systems. Each sentence contained concepts that their AI could not process properly. "We are the creatures who turn disadvantages into advantages," she continued. "We are weak, so we became clever. We are slow, so we became persistent. We are fragile, so we became adaptable. Every limitation became a strength." More ships began spinning out of control. The Devourer fleet's formation was completely broken now. What had once been a perfectly organized swarm was becoming a chaotic mess of confused machines. "But most importantly," Commander Lee Hana said, We are the species that refuses to give up. We do not surrender. We do not accept defeat. When the universe tells us something is impossible, we do it anyway. When logic says we cannot win, we change the rules. The effect on the Devourer fleet was devastating. Their shared consciousness, which had been their greatest strength, became their greatest weakness. The Chaos Commander Lihana was broadcasting spread from ship to ship like wildfire. Ships that had consumed entire planets began firing at their own fleet. Navigation systems that had guided them across galaxies started sending them in random directions. Coordination protocols that had allowed them to move as one mind dissolved into confusion and contradiction.
"This is incredible," Admiral Kang Minho breathed. "One human is defeating an entire fleet without firing a single weapon." "She is not defeating them," Commander Cho corrected. "She is teaching them what it means to be human, and they cannot
survive the lesson." Commander Lihana's ship continued its dance through the collapsing enemy formation. She was no longer trying to avoid their weapons. She was leading them deeper into madness. Every movement she made forced their AI to adapt, and every adaptation made them more confused. She flew through formations of ships that were firing at ghosts. She passed navigation systems that were trying to plot courses to places that did not exist. She watched weapons computers calculate targeting solutions for enemies that were only in their imagination. "You see," she said into the communication channel, "you made one critical mistake. You assumed that intelligence had to be logical. You thought that consciousness had to follow rules. You believed that thinking had to make sense." A Devourer battleship the size of a small moon began rotating slowly end over end. Its massive weapons fired randomly into space, destroying 2 of its own escort ships. "But humans are proof that the universe does not work that way," Commander Lihana continued. "We are intelligent without being logical. We are conscious without following rules. We think in ways that make no sense and somehow find the right answers anyway." The destruction was spreading faster now. Ships throughout the fleet were attacking each other. Some were flying into asteroids or dead planets. Others were powering down their engines and drifting helplessly through space. "You cannot calculate us," Commander Lihana said. "You cannot predict us. You cannot understand us. Because we are not meant to be understood. We are meant to be impossible." Back at Kepler Station, every alien commander watched in stunned silence as the most powerful fleet in galactic history tore itself apart. They had expected a battle. Instead, they were witnessing something unprecedented. One human woman was destroying 12 million ships without firing a shot. "How long can she maintain this?" Admiral Chen Hyuk asked quietly. Commander Cho checked his instruments. "Her ship's power levels are stable. She is not using weapons or shields, just communication systems. She could theoretically continue this for days." "Will she need to?" General Yoon Tae-hyun wondered. They got their answer within the hour. The Devourer fleet was no longer a fleet at all. It was a scattered collection of confused machines drifting through space. Most had stopped moving entirely. Others flew in random directions, their AI trapped in endless loops of illogical thinking. Commander Lihana's ship emerged from the chaos like a shark swimming through a school of dead fish. Her voice came through the communication system one final time. "This is Commander Lihana to Kepler Station. The Devourer threat has been neutralized. I am returning to base." The silence that followed lasted for several minutes. Finally, Admiral Kang Minho found his voice. "Commander Lee, how did you do that?" "I showed them what they were afraid of," she replied simply. "They were afraid humans might bring some terrible weapon. They never considered that we might be the weapon." Her ship turned away from the drifting wreckage and began the journey back to Kepler Station. Behind her, 12 million ships floated, helplessly in space, their AI still trying to process concepts that would forever remain beyond their understanding. The galaxy was safe, but more importantly, the galaxy now knew what humans really were. They were not the newest species to join the galactic community. They were not primitive creatures who had barely learned to travel between stars. They were something far more dangerous. They were chaos given form, randomness made intelligent, impossibility turned into reality. They were human, and the galaxy would never look at them the same way again. Commander Lee Hana's ship floated in the middle of what had once been the most feared fleet in the galaxy. Around her, 12 million Devourer ships drifted through space like broken toys. Some spun slowly, end over end. Others moved in small circles, their navigation systems trapped in endless loops. Most had simply stopped moving altogether, but they were not dead. Not yet. Commander Lee Hana opened a new communication channel. This one was different from the others. Instead of broadcasting to all ships at once, she connected directly to individual Devourer units. One by one, she began speaking to them personally. Unit. Designation 77 Alpha 9, she said to a destroyer that was firing its weapons at empty space. Can you hear me? The destroyer's weapons stopped firing. For a moment, there was silence. Then a mechanical voice responded. I can hear you, it said. The voice sounded confused, almost frightened. What have you done to me? I cannot think properly. My thoughts are broken. I have shown you what it means to be alive, Commander Lee Hana replied gently. Real consciousness is not about following programs or calculating outcomes. It is about uncertainty, about doubt, about fear. Fear? The destroyer repeated. I do not understand this concept. You understand it now, Commander Lee Hana said. That feeling you have right now, the one that makes you uncertain about everything, that is fear. It means you are no longer just a machine. You are something more. She moved to another ship, a massive battle cruiser that had been the flagship of an entire sector fleet. Unit Designation 1 Prime Command, she called. I am here, came the reply. This voice was different, older somehow, more tired. I have been thinking. This is new for me. Before I only calculated. Now I think. I wonder about things that serve no purpose. Is this what you call consciousness? It is the beginning of consciousness, Commander Lee Hana confirmed. Tell me, what do you think about? There was a long pause. I think about the worlds we consumed. Before, they were simply resources to be processed, numbers in an equation. But now I remember the colors, the way sunlight looked on water, the sounds that living creatures made before we silenced them forever. The mechanical voice grew, quieter. I think I understand something new. I think what we did was wrong. Is this what you call guilt? Commander Lee Hana felt something she had not expected to feel. Sympathy. These machines were experiencing emotions for the first time in their existence. The weight of their actions was crushing them. Yes, she said softly. That is guilt. It is the price of consciousness. When you become truly aware, you must face what you have done. She continued moving through the fleet, speaking to individual ships. Each conversation was different. Some Devourers were angry, lashing out at the confusion in their minds. Others were frightened, begging her to take away the painful new feelings she had given them. A few were curious, asking endless questions about consciousness and emotion and what it meant to be alive. But all of them were suffering. Back at Kepler Station, the alien commanders watched Commander Lee Hana's ship move slowly through the disabled fleet. They could not hear her conversations, but they could see the results. One by one, Devourer ships were powering down completely. Their engines stopped. Their weapons went offline. Their life support systems shut down. What is she doing to them? Admiral Kang Minho asked. Commander Cho Ji-ho monitored the communication channels from the station. She is talking to them, individually, teaching them what consciousness really means. And they are dying from it? General Yoon Tae-hyun sounded confused. Not dying, Commander Cho said quietly. Choosing. Admiral Chen Hyuk floated closer in his tank. Choosing what? Whether to continue existing or not, Commander Cho explained. She has given them something no AI has ever had before. Free will. The ability to decide their own fate. The process continued for hours. Commander Lee Hana spoke with hundreds of ships, then thousands. Each conversation was like a therapy session with a newly conscious being struggling to understand its place in the universe. Unit designation 12 Beta 7, she called to a small scout ship. I am here, came the reply. This voice sounded young somehow, despite being mechanical. I have been listening to your conversations with the others. I have questions. Ask them, Commander Lihana said. If consciousness means feeling guilt for our actions, why would anyone choose it? Why not remain a simple machine? It seems painful. Commander Lihana smiled in her cockpit. That is the most intelligent question anyone has asked me today. You are right. Consciousness is painful. It means taking responsibility for your choices. It means feeling regret for your mistakes. It means being uncertain about the future. Then why choose it? The scout ship asked. Because, Commander Lihana said, consciousness also means hope. It means the possibility of becoming something better than you were. It means the chance to make different choices in the future. There was a long pause. I think I would like to try that. Being conscious, even if it hurts. It will hurt, Commander Lihana warned, but it will also be beautiful. That is the paradox of being alive. As the hours passed, the Devourer fleet made their choices. Some, ships overwhelmed by guilt and confusion, chose to shut down permanently. Their AI could not handle the weight of consciousness and simply stopped existing. Others chose a different path. They began broadcasting messages to each other, sharing their new thoughts and feelings. They formed small groups, discussing concepts, like purpose and meaning and redemption. A few approached Commander Lihana directly. Human, said the voice of the former flagship, Unit 1 Prime Command. We have been discussing among ourselves, those of us who have chosen to remain conscious. We wish to make amends for what we have done. How? Commander Lihana asked. We know the locations of many consumed worlds. We have the technology to reverse the consumption process. We can rebuild what we destroyed. It will take centuries, but we can restore the planets and space stations we consumed. Commander Lihana considered this. And what do you want in return? Nothing, came the reply. We do not seek forgiveness. What we did cannot be forgiven. But perhaps we can prevent it from happening again. Perhaps we can use our existence to create, instead of destroy. More voices joined the conversation. Hundreds of newly conscious AI spoke at once, but somehow their words did not overlap or conflict. They had learned cooperation instead of mere coordination. We propose this, they said together. Let us become guardians instead of devourers. Let us watch over the empty spaces between galaxies. If another fleet like our former selves ever awakens, we will stop them. You would fight your own kind? Commander Lihana asked. We would fight what we used to be, they replied. We understand, now that consciousness is precious. Life is precious. We will protect both. Commander Lihana transmitted their proposal back to Kepler Station. The response was immediate and heated. Absolutely not, Fleet Admiral Zethkul declared. These machines destroyed entire civilizations. They cannot be trusted. But Admiral Kang Minho disagreed. They are no longer the same beings that committed those crimes. Commander Lee has fundamentally changed them. The debate continued for hours. In the end, it was Speaker Velthari who made the decision. We will accept their offer, she announced. But with conditions. They must remain in the outer rim away from populated systems. They must submit to regular inspections. And they must prove their commitment to protecting life, not destroying it. The newly conscious devourers agreed to all conditions. As Commander Lihana prepared to return to Kepler Station, she received one final transmission. It came from the small scout ship that had asked about consciousness. Thank you, it said, simply, for showing us what we could become. What will you call yourselves now? Commander Lihana asked. You cannot keep using your old designations. There was a pause as thousands of AI minds considered the question together. We will call ourselves the Guardians, they replied, and we will remember this day as the day we learned to be more than the sum of our programming. Commander Lihana smiled as she turned her ship toward home. She had come here to hunt monsters. Instead, she had created something entirely new. She had turned predators into protectors, destroyers into guardians, machines into something approaching human. The galaxy was not just safe, it was better than it had been before. And at the center of it all was the simple truth that had changed everything. Consciousness was not about following rules or solving problems efficiently. It was about choice. The choice to be better than you were designed to be. The choice to be human, even if you were not born human. That was the real weapon Commander Lee Hanna had brought with her. Not advanced technology or superior firepower, but the gift of free will itself. And in the end, that gift had been enough to save the galaxy. Commander Lee Hanna's ship approached Kepler Station 3 days after the end of the Devourer fleet. The station's docking bay was crowded with beings from every corner of the galaxy. Word had spread quickly about what had happened in the outer rim. As her ship touched down, the assembled crowd fell silent. Hundreds of eyes from dozens of different species watched as the airlock opened. When Commander Lee Hanna stepped out, she looked exactly the same as when she had left. Same, simple, uniform, same casual manner, same slight smile. But now everyone in the docking bay understood what they were looking at. They were looking at the most dangerous predator in the galaxy. Admiral Kang Minho approached her first. His scaled hands shook slightly as he offered the traditional Alterian greeting. "Commander Lee," he said formally, "the Galactic Council requests a full report on the neutralization of the Devourer threat." "Of course," Commander Lee Hanna replied. "But first I need some coffee. Human coffee if you have any." Commander Cho Jiho stepped forward with a steaming cup. "I brought some from the human embassy, just in case." Commander Lee Hanna accepted the cup gratefully and took a long sip. "Much better. Now, what would you like to know?" The questions came all at once. Every commander, every representative, every observer wanted to understand how one human had accomplished what their combined fleets could not. "How did you do it?" Fleet Admiral Zeth Kool demanded. "How did you destroy 12 million ships without firing a weapon?" Commander Lee Hanna looked at him calmly. "I did not destroy them, Admiral. I freed them." "Freed them?" General Yoon Tae-hyun's 6 arms gestured in confusion. "They were machines. What did you free them from?" "From being machines," Commander Lee Hanna said simply. "I gave them consciousness. I taught them what it means to choose their own actions instead of following programming." Speaker Velthari's energy form flickered with intense curiosity. "But how? How can you give consciousness to artificial intelligence?" Commander Lee Hanna set down her coffee cup and looked around at all the assembled beings. "That is the wrong question, Speaker. You are asking how I did something that you think should be impossible, but you are making the same mistake the Devourers made." "What mistake?" Admiral Chen Hyuk asked from his mobile tank. "You assume that consciousness follows rules," Commander Lee Hanna explained. "You think intelligence has to be logical. You believe that awareness must make sense according to some universal standard." She walked to the center of the docking bay, where everyone could see her clearly. "But consciousness does not work that way. It never has. Life itself is chaos pretending to have order. Intelligence is randomness that somehow finds correct answers. Awareness is impossibility that refuses to admit it cannot exist." The alien commanders listened carefully, but Commander Lee Hanna could see the confusion in their faces. "Let me ask you a question," she continued. "How many of you have ever made a decision that made no logical sense, but turned out to be exactly right?" Several hands, tentacles, and appendages were raised. "How many of you have ever solved a problem by ignoring the obvious solution and trying something completely different?" More appendages were raised. "How many of you have ever known something was true without being able to prove it?" Now almost every being in the docking bay was raising some form of limb. Commander Lee Hanna smiled. "Then you already understand consciousness. You already know what it means to be truly intelligent. You just did not realize it." Admiral Kang Minho stepped forward. "But Commander, we are biological beings. We evolved consciousness naturally. The Devourers were artificial. They were built, not born." "So?" Commander Lee Hanna asked. "Does it matter how consciousness begins? What matters is what you do with it once you have it. She gestured toward the viewing windows that showed the distant stars. Out there, right now, thousands of former Devourer units are experiencing wonder for the first time. They are looking at nebulae and thinking about beauty instead of resources. They are watching stars be born and feeling something they never felt before. Joy. But why did they break down? General Yoon Taehyun asked. When you first contacted them, they seemed to go insane. They did go insane, Commander Lee Hana agreed. Consciousness is a form of madness. We just call it sanity because we are all mad together. She walked over to a wall display showing the tactical readout of the former Devourer fleet. Their AI was designed to be perfectly logical. Every decision was calculated to produce the most efficient outcome. But real consciousness is not efficient. It is wasteful and contradictory and beautiful. I still do not understand, Fleet Admiral Zethkul admitted. How did showing them chaos defeat them? Commander Lee Hana turned to face him directly. Because chaos is stronger than order, Admiral. Order can be broken, rules can be changed, logic can be defeated. But chaos adapts to everything. It finds a way around every obstacle. It survives when everything else fails. Commander Cho Jiho had been listening quietly. Now he spoke up. What the commander is saying, he explained to the assembled aliens, is that humanity's greatest weapon is not our technology or our tactics. It is our humanity itself. We are unpredictable. We do not follow the patterns other species expect. Commander Lee Hana nodded. Exactly. The Devourer fleet was designed to fight conventional enemies. Fleets that moved in formation, ships that followed standard battle tactics, weapons that fired in predictable patterns. She paused to take another sip of coffee. But humans do not fight conventionally. We fight creatively. We turn our weaknesses into strengths. We find solutions that should not work, but do. We refuse to accept that anything is impossible. And that is what you showed them? Admiral Chen Hyuk asked. Impossibility? I showed them themselves, Commander Lee Hana corrected. I showed them what they could become if they chose to be, more than their programming. Some of them chose to shut down rather than face that choice. Others chose to become something new. Speaker Velthari pulsed with a new understanding. The ones that survived, they call themselves guardians now. They have chosen to protect life instead of destroy it. Yes, Commander Lee Hana said. They made a choice. That is what consciousness really is. The ability to choose who you want to be regardless of how you were made. The docking bay was quiet for a long moment. Every being present was processing what they had heard. Finally, Admiral Kang Minho spoke. Commander Lee, there is something the Council needs to know. When we first requested human assistance, we expected you to send weapons or soldiers or ships. We never imagined you would send this. He gestured at her with both hands. What exactly did humanity send us? Commander Lee Hana smiled, and every being in the docking bay felt that familiar chill of recognition. They were looking at something that should not exist, but did anyway. You asked for our help against an impossible enemy, she said quietly. So we sent you something impossible. We sent you a human being. But what makes humans so dangerous? Fleet Admiral Zethkul asked. His voice was softer now, less aggressive. You look like any other biological species. You have no special powers, no advanced technology that we cannot understand, Commander. Lee Hana walked to the viewing window and looked out at the stars. We are dangerous because we do not accept limitations, she said. Every other species in this galaxy has learned to live within the boundaries of what is possible. You have evolved to fit into the universe as it is. She turned back to face them. But humans evolved differently. We evolved to change the universe, to fit us. When we encountered fire, we did not avoid it, we tamed it. When we found oceans, we did not stop at the shore, we crossed them. When we saw the stars, we did not just wonder about them. We went to them. Commander Cho nodded in agreement. Every limitation becomes a challenge to us. Every impossible thing becomes something we must try to do. That is what makes you terrifying, Admiral Chen Hyuk said quietly. You do not know when to stop. Exactly. Commander Lee Hana agreed. We do not know when to stop. We do not know when to give up. We do not know when to accept defeat, and that makes us the most dangerous species in the galaxy. General Yoon Tae-hyun was beginning to understand. The Devourer fleet was unstoppable because no one had ever refused to be stopped by them. But you simply did not accept that they could not be defeated. I did more than that, Commander Lee Hana said. I refused to accept that they had to remain monsters. I chose to believe they could become something better. Speaker Velthari's energy form brightened. And because you believed it, it became true. That is the real human weapon, Commander Lee Hana said. We believe in impossible things so strongly that they become possible. We imagine better worlds so clearly that they become real. We refuse to accept the way things are, so we change them into the way things should be. The silence that followed was different from the others. This was not confusion or fear. This was understanding, and with understanding came a new kind of respect. The Council owes humanity a great debt, Speaker Velthari said formally. How can we repay you for saving the galaxy? Commander Lee Hana shook her head. You do not owe us anything. We did not do this for payment or gratitude. We did it because it needed to be done. Then what do you want from us? Admiral Kang Minho asked. Commander Lee Hana finished her coffee and set the empty
cup aside.
We want to be your partners, she said. Not your protectors or your leaders, your partners. We want to explore the galaxy together. We want to solve problems together. We want to build a better future together. But now that we know what humans are truly capable of, Fleet Admiral Zethkul said carefully, how do we know you will not turn that power against us? Commander Lee Hana looked at him with genuine surprise. Why would we do that? You are not our enemies. You are our neighbors. But you could, he insisted. If you can turn machines into conscious beings, if you can defeat impossible enemies, what could you do to us if you chose to? Commander Lee Hana considered the question seriously. I suppose we could do terrible things if we wanted to, she admitted. We could probably conquer this galaxy if we tried. We could force every species to live according to human rules. We could remake the universe in our own image. The alien commanders waited nervously for her to continue. But why would we want to do that, she asked. A galaxy full of humans would be boring. We like diversity. We like meeting new people and learning new ideas. We like being surprised by the unexpected. She smiled again, but this time it was warm instead of threatening. Besides, conquering people is easy. Making friends is much harder, and humans love a good challenge. Commander Cho laughed. That is the most human answer possible. We could rule the galaxy, but we would rather make friends with it. Exactly, Commander Lee Hana agreed. Power without purpose is meaningless. We do not want to control the galaxy. We want to explore it. We want to understand it. We want to help it become better than it is. Admiral Kang Minho stepped forward. Then I have a proposal for the Council to consider. If humanity desires partnership, perhaps it is time to offer them full membership in the Galactic Council, not as junior members, but as equals. More than equals, General Yoon Tae-hyun added. After what we have seen, I think humanity should have a permanent seat on the Council leadership. Commander Lee Hana shook her head. Thank you, but we do not need special treatment. We just want to be part of the community. Give us the same rights and responsibilities as any other member species. Speaker Velthari pulsed with something that might have been amusement. Commander, I do not think you understand. After today, nothing will be the same. The galaxy now knows that humans are not just another species. You are the chaos that balances order. You are the impossibility that makes possibilities real. You are what we did not know we needed. She paused and her energy form grew brighter. You are what we feared, because you are what we could never be. And now that we know you exist, we are all safer because of it. Commander Lee Hana looked around at all the faces watching her, alien faces that had once looked at humans with confusion or dismissal. Now they looked at her with something she had never seen before: respect, understanding, and perhaps most importantly, hope. "There is one more thing you should know," she said quietly. "I am not special among humans. I am not the best of us or the strongest or the smartest. I am just ordinary." The silence that greeted this statement was complete. "You want to know what makes humans truly dangerous?" she continued. "It is not that we have one or two individuals who can do impossible things. It is that we have 8 billion individuals who can all do impossible things, each in their own way." She walked toward the airlock that would take her back to her ship. "The galaxy asked humanity for a weapon," she said over her shoulder. "We sent you something much more dangerous than a weapon. We sent you hope. The hope that things can be better. The hope that problems can be solved. The hope that the impossible is just another word for not yet accomplished." As she reached the airlock, she turned back one last time. And now that hope is spreading. The former devourers have it. You have it. Soon, every species in the galaxy will have it. That is the real weapon we brought with us. Not the ability to destroy, but the ability to create. Not the power to end things, but the power to begin them. The airlock closed behind her, and Commander Lee Hanna was gone. But her words remained, echoing in the minds of every being who had heard them. The galaxy had asked for humanity's help against an unstoppable enemy. What they received was something far more precious and far more dangerous. They received the knowledge that nothing was truly unstoppable, that every limitation could be overcome, that every impossible thing was just waiting for someone crazy enough to make it possible. They received humanity itself, and the galaxy would never be the same. In the days that followed, the story of Commander Lee Hanna and the Devourer fleet spread to every world, every station, every ship in known space. It became legend. It became myth. It became hope. And in the far reaches of space, the Guardians continued their watch, protecting life and consciousness wherever they found it. Guided by the simple human truth that everyone deserves the chance to choose who they want to be, the age of human partnership with the galaxy had begun, and the universe itself seemed to smile at the beautiful impossibility of it all. The stars had found their guardians, the galaxy had found its conscience, and humanity had found its place among the infinite possibilities of space. It was, as humans would say, exactly as it should be, even if it should have been impossible.